we jump into our content, we'll do some quick introductions of everybody on the panel. My name is James Holsinger. I serve as Executive Director of the KLC and Director of Learning Assistance.
I'm Dr. Brandon Coates, and I'm the Director of Elon 1010, which is our first year advising seminar.
Good morning, my name is Monica Isbell, and I'm the Director of Disabilities Resources. Our name will be changing June 1st, and so our new name will be Office of Academic Accommodations and Accessibility.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Zega, Director of Academic Advising.
Hi everyone, my name is Norma Rodriguez, Assistant Director of Learning Assistance.
Okay, so we wanted to put up some quick goals here. Just to give you a sense for how we thought about today's presentation, we're going to first talk about how students can prepare between now and August before you even officially come to campus as a student. And that means we're assuming everyone in this room is coming to Elon. So that's the way we've thought about things. We're then going to talk a little bit about academic support resources that will be available to students at Elon. And then in the last part of our session, we will talk about how families can best support students in these processes. So in this room, we have students, we have families. We want to make sure we speak to all audiences, and so we'll touch on that towards the end. We will save 10 to 15 minutes at the end for specific questions, and we'll have mic runners to go around so that we can answer those as well. As you see up here, we've got a timeline. As I mentioned, we're going to first talk about academic accommodations and accessibility because there are processes that are starting right now. And in fact, we're into April and you can see March. So processes that have already been in place that will be ongoing. We will talk, Brandy will talk about first year advising, Kathy will talk about first year advising and registration. You can see the inclusive dates there, June 6th through July 3rd. Brandy will talk about Elon 1010, which is the course that students will take in their first semester at Elon. And then Norma's going to talk about learning assistance and resources that will be available from day one, but also resources that will be available for their entire time here at Elon. So we'll turn things over to Monica first.
Again, good morning. So as I mentioned before, our office name currently is Disabilities Resources. Starting June 1st, our name will change, AAA, A cubed. For short, but our work will still remain the same. The areas of accommodations we address are around academic, housing, dining, and ESA or emotional support. Something to just be aware of. If a student is requesting an accommodation related to housing or ESA, for the upcoming year, the deadline to get that information in, there's a packet, is May 1st at 12 noon. We'll talk more about that. We have an individual session. So why the name change? Accessibility, it's inclusive and gives everyone equal access, promotes usability, it's the right thing to do, and we do have legal requirements. We serve undergraduate, graduate students, students in special programs, and students seeking who will need temporary accommodations. Our management system that we use is called Accommodate. That is where we house all the documentation. That's where our communication to you all funnels out through Accommodate. Some quick tips, things to think about. One, start the process early. Do not wait till August because you're waiting then approximately 30 days. So start the process early. We are already receiving accommodation requests from students. You need to make sure that when you do your request, you use your Elon ID and email address. And the other thing we encourage is, and you'll hear this throughout, is making sure that you're checking your Elon email regularly. We communicate to you via your Elon email. So if you need more information, after this session, we will have an accommodation session specifically that's talking about all things accommodations at 12 noon in Clohan.
Okay, so then the next piece of that summer timeline or spring to summer timeline is our first year advising and registration, which we lovingly call FIRE. We are the Phoenix, we rose from the ashes, fire. Okay. Thank you for the Yeah. And that FIRE is actually through the Office of Academic Advising, so AA battery here. So what is advising? It is a relationship. It is working with a professional staff member or faculty advisor to talk about your goals, your aspirations, the things you really enjoy, and how you want to put those into your nice, tidy bucket list for Elon. And that does start with our summer registration process. So just like Monica teased a little bit about, if you want more information about this, I'm just giving you a little bit of nuggets here, but we have had some webinars. We've had one already about a week ago, and we have another one coming up at the end of the month and in early May. So if there's any students who are early decision in the group, I would highly recommend doing the April one if you can. If you are not early decision, either that would work for your calendar. They're always 6 p.m., always sign up through admissions, and we'll go through more of what that means in terms of how would I go about the process of selecting my first semester of classes. We do have a whole process for this. It is available. A lot of it is public information already on our Office of Academic Advising website. So those of you who are type A++ people and want to look at that already, we have course lists, major guidebooks. You can do a live chat with one of our student staff during our business hours and the like. But again, please join us for more information about one of those FIRE sessions later this month and in early May.
So Elon 1010, which is the first year advising seminar that all students will take, it is a signature first year experience program. And Elon, the university, is ranked #1 in first year experiences by the U.S. World News and Report. So #1 out of all universities in the country. So that's a pride mark for us. But a little more about Elon 1010. Students, your students will be, you will be registered for Elon 1010. So everyone will be placed into an Elon 1010 section, and then the instructor of the course will serve as your advisor. So your advisor will be assigned, and so students, you will meet your Elon 1010 advisor at new student orientation in August when you arrive to campus. So a little bit more about Elon 1010. It is a course that you will take in your fall semester. It is 1 credit hour. It's pass-fail, 55 minutes every week. For the full semester. So you will see your academic advisor every single week of your first semester. That's an important piece because you will build a relationship with them. They will get to know you. They will know your name. I went to a large state institution and my advisor had 400 advisees. And so I saw her one time throughout the semester and she gave me a code and I went and registered. So we didn't have much of a relationship. So very different here at Elon. We want you to be a part of a small community within your Elon 1010 class. So again, that course is taught by a faculty or staff member here at the university, and that person will serve as your advisor until you're ready to declare your major. It is also co-taught by a peer educator who is an upper class student here at Elon. They've taken Elon 1010, so they're going to serve as a form of peer support for you, kind of help you navigate campus, kind of show you the ropes from a peer perspective. And then also with Elon 1010, each section of the course is assigned a personal librarian. So a first year librarian from my Belk library will be assigned to each section, and that person will be your contact person if you have questions about doing assignments, research, anything related to information literacy. How do you find appropriate sources and things of that nature? And that person will follow you until you graduate, and so you will have those connections through Elon 1010. Starting with your first semester of the course. Some of the topics that are covered in Elon 1010, it's a first year transition course, okay? So it's first year experience, so we do want you to learn some transition items, things that are gonna help you transition from high school to college. So time management, so how do you manage your time? What does that look like in college? Very different, right, than high school. Academic skills, some of you may not have ever had to study, or, and how do you write? How do you take notes? So what does that look like in college now that you're here? How do you build community? Where do you find your people? Talking about the honor code and what it means to be a part of the Elon community here. Of course, also academic resources and campus resources, which you'll hear a little more about here in a second. And then we'll teach you about the Elon core curriculum, which is our general education studies program and what those requirements are. And of course, since this course is also taught by your advisor, you will learn about what academic advising and course registration looks like now that you are a student at the institution, because that process looks different than what Kathy just shared from what FIRE looks like over the summer. So you'll learn about that process. And you'll also learn how to declare your major. So all students enter the university as undeclared, and you can declare your major at the end of Elon 1010. So your advisor for 1010 will walk you through that process and what that looks like and when you are able to do that for the first time. And then one of the culminating experiences that every single first year student completes is a graduation plan, an Elon graduation plan. And so you'll create the graduation plan for your 4 years here at Elon, and it'll create a roadmap. So you'll be able to change that plan, but we want you to have a roadmap. We want you to know the process. We want you to think about your holistic experience here. So not only courses and requirements for majors or minors and for the core, but also what do you want to accomplish while you're here? What experiences do you want to participate in, and how can you plan that into your plan? So if you want to go study abroad, or if you want to do a leadership or want to do research, when do you need to start thinking about that in your plan? And so you learn all of those things through Elon 1010. And so I'll pass it to Norma to talk more about some of the academic campus resources that you have access to.
Awesome. So through Learning Assistance, you have a variety of options and resources available to you from the time you start at Elon up until you graduate as well. The main thing that we do is tutoring, so there's options to schedule a one-on-one appointment with a peer tutor, but for a few select courses, you can also just stop by. There's assigned days and times in which our tutors are available within our tutoring space. A student does not have to schedule a session for the drop-in. They can just show up and stay for the duration of the session, or shorter than that if they would like. A lot of the courses that we offer tutoring for tend to be courses that students may take within their first or second year here at Elon, although every now and then, and based on request and demand, we may support some 3,000 or 4,000 level courses as well. I think at the moment on our scheduling site, we have tutoring for over 60 courses. And we always work with students on an as-needed basis as well to either connect them to other resources outside of the tutoring center if we do not have a tutor available. For students who might need more of that help with figuring out what their schedule looks like now, knowing what to do with their free time, or trying to find a little bit more free time, but also making time to study and complete the assignments, we have peer success coaching. So this is available to any and all Elon students. You can connect one-on-one with a peer coach who can meet with you up to twice a week on a weekly basis. That's really just someone to help you double check that assignments are being completed. They can help you create a study plan, go over note-taking skills. You may realize a lot of the courses in college are a little bit different than maybe high school. The demand is a little bit different as well, and expectations from professors may vary. So being able to understand those expectations and meet those expectations, that's someone who can help you through that. We have group support available, so accountability groups are structured times throughout the week where a student might already know what they need to work on, or they might have worked with a peer coach to determine what to work on for that day. So then within the accountability group, you can show up. There's still a peer leader there helping facilitate the session, but it's really just time for you to get work done. And if it's helpful to you to have someone hold you accountable and double check, yep, completed the assignment, and now I know what my plan is moving forward, accountability groups are a great way for you to make sure that the work is getting done. Peer-assisted learning sessions, you'll notice we love acronyms here, so those are our PAL sessions. You get to work with peers. There's also a group leader there, and so the difference with the PAL sessions is that the tutor has already completed the course. They, throughout the semester, may also visit the course to see what the professor is covering that week, and then within the same week, they have review sessions covering material that students may have been struggling with the most. And then they hold that review session, but they also facilitate the learning so that peers are helping each other. Success consultations. This would be a meeting with either myself, James, who's the Director of Learning Assistance as well, and then our third staff member, Samantha Dunn. If you aren't quite sure where to start or what might be like the best person to connect with at first, you can meet with us. We'll kind of go over all the options, hear a little bit more about what your concerns are, what you may be struggling with, and then we'll help you come up with a plan as to who to connect with first or what resource to try first. And then we also, throughout the semester and throughout your time at Elon, you may see us visit your classes. So we have academic success workshops that are open to all students. They're hosted by our office, and so we would invite you to join those. Sometimes we do workshops connected to specific courses, so we may visit maybe a nursing course, a business course, grad student courses as well, focused on concerns that faculty have brought up to us, and then we will create a workshop for the students in that point in time too. For a lot of these options, you will see you can connect with someone in person, you can show up one-on-one, you can connect via online, on Zoom, you can schedule an appointment, or you can drop in. So there's a lot of variety as to how to connect with someone as well.
Great, thanks, Norma. So we know that student support systems are really important to their success academically, personally, holistically. And so what we're going to do now is shift gears a little bit and hear from the panelists about ways that families and other support networks can help students in these processes and in others.
So I'm going to discuss encouraging access, things to think about. So a student does not have, with a disability, does not or is not required to register with our office. However, if the student needs accommodations, such as extended time for testing or a distraction-reduced environment, those are accommodations, and the student will have to register with our office. It's the student's responsibility to self-identify and to begin the process. I tell students, I know when you fill out the intake form, I know when your parents have filled out the intake form. There is no right or wrong answer to the intake form. It's 8 questions. I want you to be engaged in this process and initiate it. It's important for the student to understand their disability, how it impacts in an academic environment and non-academic environments, and what accommodations they have used to address that impact. As far as documentation, IEPs and 504s are great secondary documents. However, primary documentation is related to the nature of the disability. So oftentimes we'll talk to students about the type of documentation they may need to provide for us. Sometimes there's concerns about, do I need to get reevaluated? I always tell students and parents, stop. Let's have a conversation before you go out seeking any type of reevaluation. And the other piece of it is the request process is ongoing. It's not a one and done. Sometimes students come in, they may think they need, these accommodations because they were similar to what they had in high school, but as they get going in their college career, they may say, I need to discuss about additional accommodations, or this is going on, I may need additional support. So our doors are always open for students to revisit and address additional accommodation needs.
So back to our first year advising registration. So this is the course selection process, but it is also an interactive process. We do this through small group virtual advising sessions, and these will happen starting in early June to very early July. We've got lots of session times, lots of session topics, but what can you do as a family member and as the student preparing for these sessions? Because we want the student to be in the session. They'll be there with a few other peers, with an advisor who will help them with their class selection for that semester, and they will finish that session with their class schedule. So how can you help? What do you need to know? I mentioned earlier that we have those class lists and major guidebooks, some resources are already available on our website. Review them, start talking about those, but also think about accessing our Elon Bound. This is our virtual pre-orientation that all students are going to complete, but anybody else is welcome to do so as a guest, and you get very similar and in a lot of cases same content, so you get an idea of what your student is going to have opportunities for at Elon. So do that for everything, but then specifically we have a section on course selection we call Mapping Your Academics. Make sure you're checking your new student checklist. This will be available in your Acorn account. So that's kind of our onboarding checklist that you want to make sure that you're looking at and scheduling timelines. You might be busy. You've got, baseball or softball or track, or you've got a job, or you're planning for prom, or you're just a procrastinator. And so you need an agenda. And so going through those checklists and making sure that you're at least aware that these things need to get done is really helpful. Anyone can join the FIRE webinars. That's not student specific. So when we had our one in early this month, we did have about 300 or so guests join. And so it was students, supporters, so everyone is welcome to those. Make it a family event. Those are recorded, by the way, if you are not able to attend one of those, and you can access those through admissions. And then encourage exploration. and then be jealous that your student gets to take those cool classes. So encourage them to try something that they may never have gotten a chance to take before, or they're teetering with the idea of something for a major or minor. This is the time to test out the waters. If not in your first year in college, then when? So that exploration is a real big piece of it, and have those conversations. And then just get used to the process of passing the baton from really doing a lot for your student to them needing to do this stuff for themselves. So they're going to be the ones taking the classes. Again, you can be jealous, but they're the ones who get to learn that material. And so all those facilitation things that you might have done in the past, now you're going to be that coach, asking them questions about how they're getting it done, not doing it for them. So that's that transition that is very hard, and I respect that. But this is a really good pathway to continue working on that. And then I'll toss it to Brandy because she's got a lot of other perspectives to add to that.
Sure. So once your students arrive, how can you support your students' transition, whether you are a parent, guardian, or a part of the student support system? So parents and family members, or anyone who attends orientation with students, you will also get an opportunity to meet the Elon 1010 instructor/advisor and the peer educator. You will meet them during new student orientation as well. So again, students will meet with their class during that time, and then we'll have an opportunity for families and parent and family members to meet with the instructor and advisor. This is a great opportunity for you to learn the differences between high school and college from your perspective as a parent and family member. Particularly from the perspective of what you're probably used to in high school and working with guidance counselors and assistant principals and things of that nature. That looks very different here in terms of what an advisor does. And so advisors guide and support students through their educational journey. So we don't tell them what to do. We don't pick majors for them. We want them to make informed decisions. And so we will give them all the information that they need to make those decisions, but we will not make those decisions for them. And so, which is very different than what we might see in high school, right? They take courses, and there are a lot of times they're told what courses they're going to take and what year, and they might get an option of maybe an elective or something like that, but that is very different here, where they need to make those decisions themselves, and we want to support them and guide them through that process. So as families, again, we're going to emphasize the supporter and coach and not a proxy, and what we mean by that is your student is here on campus. You might be somewhere in New Jersey or Massachusetts or Colorado, across the country, and so we're sharing this information with you so that when your student calls, because they will call, they might be frustrated, they might be overwhelmed, they might just be super excited, right? They're gonna call and vent to you and share information, and what we want you to do, instead of being a proxy and calling us or calling learning assistants or calling the student's advisor, although you've met them, instead of you calling the student's advisor and sharing all the information that the student has shared with you, we want you to share the resources with the student and say, go talk to your advisor, go schedule an appointment, go to learning assistants and see if you can schedule a tutoring session, right? So we're sharing this information with you so that you can be a supporter and a coach in helping us help your student access the resources that they need, right? And so again, when your student reaches out to you, encourage your student to reach out to or contact their Elon 1010 instructor or advisor directly, because they're here, they're on the ground with us, and they can walk over to the office, they can make a phone call, they can schedule an appointment, and that's going to be the best resource for the student. Encourage your student, again, to access the academic services and resources that we're sharing, but we want to encourage students to do that early and often, and Norma is going to talk a little more about what that looks like. But we also want you to encourage your student to utilize their help-seeking skills, right, which is something that students need to develop while they're in college. And so in doing so, by you sharing their resources with them and telling them, okay, it sounds like you have a question for your advisor, so you should call your advisor, maybe coach them on what question to ask or what to say, but you're encouraging them to use their help-seeking skills when they are in need of support or assistance, right? And again, encourage your student to check and respond to their emails daily, right? That is how we communicate. Over the summer, once students have deposited, they will get plenty of information about all the things we're sharing, but also once they arrive at the institution, that is how we communicate with students. That is how information is shared, that is how professors share information, and so we want students to make sure they're checking and responding to their emails so that they can be on top of everything and just stay on track with things they need to keep track of.
So, as family members, we rely on you to help us help your students. So, remember a few slides ago all the awesome, amazing resources I shared with you? Yes? They're only great and amazing if the students are actually using them, right? So when students do call you and let you know that they're struggling with something, or if they're really excited that they have an upcoming cell bio exam, you can let them know that there are resources available to them, right? And help them connect to those resources. Something I didn't mention earlier is that tutoring is, and all of the resources that I mentioned earlier are available at no additional cost. So they can show up, they can let us know that they need help scheduling an appointment. You can help walk them through that process as well. They will just need to log into the scheduling site with their Elon credentials. And I encourage students to become familiar with that site even before they feel that they need help for a course. So become familiar so that when you would like to schedule a tutoring session, you know how to do that. And as family members, you can help walk them through that process. I will admit sometimes that scheduling site with over 60 courses and over 100 tutors, it can become overwhelming. So help them figure it out, help them search for the course, find the tutors, sign up based on their availability, but encourage them to go through that process so that they are the ones that are receiving those email confirmations and those email reminders to show up to their sessions, and so that they know how to do that for next sessions as well. If at any point the student doesn't have a great experience with one of those options or with one of our tutors, definitely please encourage them to let us know, and also encourage them to try something different, right? There's a lot of options. We try to be as accessible and also convenient as possible, but help them encourage to find maybe an alternative. So connecting with a different tutor who might align a little bit better with the student's learning style, or letting us know, and then we can help them connect with someone else, or trying a different option for support as well. I don't think there are any procrastinators in the room, correct? So we will not procrastinate when we are scheduling our tutoring sessions, and I do recommend that you do that in advance. Students must schedule tutoring sessions at least 24 hours in advance, so that they cannot do it last minute, and they can schedule up to 2 weeks in advance. So if they know that they have an upcoming exam, encourage them to go ahead and schedule that. Right before our spring break, there was an econ final, and we were very, very busy. All of our tutors were booked up that week, but surprisingly, the week after break, it was very slow for econ, right? So please encourage them to not just use the resource when they feel like they're struggling or they need that last minute help, but to seek it early on so that they keep up with the material and the content, and they feel that they have a good understanding of it from the beginning as well.
Great. So we have about 15 minutes available. I know that was a lot of information, so we're happy to answer questions. And we're going to have a couple mic runners come. So if you give us just a minute to get set up with that, and then if you'll just raise your hand, we will get a mic over to you. Yeah. While we're doing that, just as a reminder, as Monica mentioned, there's going right after this at noon in Clohan Theater. If you'd like more information about how accommodations work at Elon, you have an opportunity to ask some questions there. That's happening right after us. So just a last reminder of that. It looks like we've got a hand back here.
When will we get to choose our first year classes or first semester?
Thank you for asking that. So the FIRE process will actually start for the most part. It has already started if you want to start looking through your options. You will need to complete Elon Bound. Then you get access to sign up for your virtual session, and then it's up to you to pick the time and the date and also the topic. So we are hosting sessions starting at 9 a.m. on June 6th. They will go, that's a Friday, just FYI, so we have kind of a slow opening using a restaurant terminology. But we have several Saturday events as well. Most of our sessions, Monday through Thursday, will end at 7 p.m. So they're hour-long sessions, and we have a lot of them per day. But you can also, when you go into select yours, it'll be based on your academic area of interest. So if you're exploratory, totally fine. We have those sessions. If you're thinking math, engineering, technology, join that one. Business, join that one. And there'll be a slew of times for you to pick. So like I said, you will decide the when, and you'll want to prepare ahead of time. And so when you do Elon Bound, pay attention in mapping your academics. There are slides that are telling you what kinds of things that we would like you to do ahead of time. That ACORN checklist is also guiding you along along the way. And again, a lot of this stuff is public now. So those of you who are planners, it is public on our website. We did that on purpose. Some of it is a little different Elon bound, but a lot of it's already publicly available. Thank you for that question.
I have a little bit of a personal question, but so I know Elon has like a required language thing. If I have dyslexia, is there any way that I can get out of that?
Good question. So we do work with students who may need to look at a world language substitute. We do not waive or remove a requirement, but that is something that my office does look at and work with students on if there's a need there.
Hi. I saw somewhere that the campus is Microsoft campus. Would you recommend a Microsoft laptop or Apple's? Okay.
Sometimes it varies depending on the major, right? So some business courses do use a lot of Microsoft products, and so sometimes using a PC is more convenient. There isn't a strong preference on campus. Students can use either one, a Mac or a PC. So sometimes it's dependent on the business or the major, the majors, right? Yeah.
Other questions anyone would like to get answered? Okay.
Can I add a note?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
So Monica and Brandy mentioned emails. Please make sure you're checking that the email you're using is going to be the email you're going to use in the summer too. So some of you are using high school accounts, change it, because those will expire at some point in time. You won't have access. So Elon's going to send you emails to both your new Elon account once you deposit and whatever is that secondary email. So you always get both. So sorry for the duplicates, but we're trying to make sure you get it. So if you need to switch it to a family account or your own account as a student, just make sure you switch that, because otherwise you're like, no one told me to do anything. I don't know what's going on. We have been, I promise you, you're getting the communications, but since you didn't update the email, you weren't receiving them, and a lot of you don't start checking your Elon email until August. So please do update that and then check regularly. I promise you, you're getting them if you've already deposited. And we know that because some students have reached out to us with questions about emails they've gotten that were meant for our currently enrolled students. So I know you're already getting them if you've deposited.
And if you have an Elon email, when does that expire? I mean, like you were talking about the high school one's going away, but what about the Elon? It's going away after graduation.
I think it's approximately 1 year after graduation. Yeah.
There's maybe a hand right over here as well.
Hi. This is slightly tangential, but it goes for learning resources. Is there any kind of standard operating procedures for professors in terms of how quickly after a test they post grades, or they're required to let students know what their grades are, so that you're not finding out at the end of the semester you're not doing well in that class? And or if a professor does a test and the whole class fails, is there any sort of accountability? You know, I'm just wondering how things are taken care of on that end.
Good question. There are no requirements that faculty have to meet a certain deadline or something like that in terms of when a grade would post. And I would say, like, you know, many or most faculty are putting those up fairly quickly because they understand that students need that information. We do have conversations with students at important points of the semester, like midterms, for instance, where a student might come to us and say, well, I don't know where I stand on this. And that's usually where we help them kind of advocate to say, like, can we go to office hours and have a conversation? They're going to be in classes that are smaller. Our classes here aren't very big. All faculty do have to have office hours. So that would be an opportunity to go in and say, This hasn't been posted yet, but let's say the withdrawal deadline, which by the way here was yesterday, for instance, lots of those conversations were happening this week. And so while there's not an administrative procedure to force that, we're usually just working with students to have a conversation with an instructor and gather as much information as they can.
Can I add? Yeah. So I do want to add to that. So the university does do midterm assessments. So faculty, at the midterm of the semester in the fall or spring, faculty submit midterm assessments for students. It's not a letter grade. It is more so, are you satisfactory? Meaning you have an A, B, or C in the course, you're doing everything well, or they may get an AR, which means at risk, meaning they have a C- or below, or they're missing assignments, failed a test, things of that nature. So that is one thing that faculty must do. So midterm assessments happen typically right after fall break or right before fall break. So when your students come home, you can ask, what are your midterm assessments? And they can log into the system and show them to you. I have my son send me screenshots. He's a sophomore, so we need evidence. So midterm assessments take place, and then we do have an early warning system. So faculty they're not required, but they can let students know when they're not doing well in a course, and when the faculty sends that early warning, or what we call e-warning, the advisor is also copied on that email, and so the advisor and the student receives a list of resources, mainly our office and a couple of other offices that they can access. The advisor reaches out to the student about having a conversation, but it is still the student's responsibility to follow up with the faculty member and to follow up with the academic advisor if they receive an e-warning. So again, it goes back to the student's responsibility in making sure that they're accessing those resources, but having those conversations, attending those faculty office hours, talking to their advisor, and things of that nature.
We also cover that in Elon 1010 as instructors. There's a way to find out, to look up when somebody's office hours are, because I wouldn't have memorized the office hours, so it's good to be able to look that up. But those peer educators, this is where they are gold, because they talk a lot about how they work with the faculty in their first or second year, because some of them are returning juniors and seniors. I always tap my peer educator to talk about how to talk with faculty, because it means more coming from another student than it does coming from me. I have advice, I can give it if they ask, but I usually tap my peer educator to give their like I said, they're gold when it comes to these student-to-student perspectives.
First year advising question. When it comes to placement exams, if a student is coming in with credit, do they still have to take the placement exam?
Great question. Typically not with world languages. Typically not, because that will serve the class. Credit they would have earned will also give them world language proficiency and credit. However, with math, we would like to see them take the placement, because we don't know yet, especially if they're looking at a major, that there's math 1, then math 2, whatever that might be. Because if they don't get it, we want to make sure there's a math class on their schedule. So thinking, of course, being a math major, but engineering in particular, we want to get folks going in that area. It does not hurt to take a placement test, I will tell you that. Maybe a little pinch, but not too bad. But when you get ready to take the placements for world languages and cultures and math, you have to start and stop in the same sitting. So like you can't come back to it hours later, it will have expired. So be ready and then take those. It does not take as much time as you might feel or fear. But thank you, please take those. And please make sure you're sending all of your AP, IB, and transcripts to Elon. You may not have had us on your mind when you took some of those as a junior, and so we might not have them yet. Now as a senior, you might have had us on your mind, but you earn those credits. We want to make sure that we're not putting you in classes that you've already earned. So please send those scores. There is an opportunity when you sign up for your virtual session, there will be an opportunity for you to say, I'm anticipating credit for history, statistics, so on and so forth. And you'll be able to, the advisor will also prepare that's hosting your session by looking at what you tell them. So we'll know that ahead of time, and we'll make sure that hopefully you're not in any duplicate classes.
Okay, we're going to pass the mic to Evan for some announcements before everybody goes. But thank you so much for your great questions and your attention. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you have additional questions today and over the next few weeks.
Thanks, guys, so much. Okay, well, if we haven't had the chance to meet yet today, I'm Evan Sprinkle, Dean of Undergraduate Admissions. Really glad you're all here and look forward to spending some more time with you throughout the day. Before dismissing for lunch, I just want to go back over the afternoon portion of the schedule because there's a little bit more variety in that schedule. So you are due back in here at 2:15. Okay, so just remember that. Back in this room at 2:15 to hear about the housing application and process for applying for living learning communities and all the details within that process. Between now and then, you have a couple of options. So one, if you're interested in learning more about accommodations and accessibility requests from Monica's team, that session is happening at noon over in the admissions building. If using veterans benefits is part of your plan to pay for college, there is another optional session for how that process will work with Dr. Kimberly Stapleton from our financial aid office. That is also at noon and also in the admissions office, the Inman Admissions Welcome Center. You have 3 options for lunch. All 3 of the dining halls are open today. Your meal ticket that you got this morning is good in any of those, plus some of our retail locations as well. So Clohan Dining Hall, Lakeside Dining Hall, and McEwen Dining Hall are all available to you at any point in the next couple of hours for lunch. I will say if allergen-friendly needs are part of your considerations for lunch, the All Good Station in the Lakeside Dining Hall is prepared free of the 9 top food allergens. So that would be a great opportunity or option for you for lunch. Between 12:30 and 2, again, you have the Residence Hall open house session. So I encourage you to try and make it to all of the different first-year neighborhoods that you might be placed in next year. If you were to come to this event 3 or 4 years ago, I would have asked that you bring a tape measure so you can measure the rooms when you go in the open houses. But we have a little guide for you. So if you have this in your session, know that as you're doing the Residence Hall open house, there are dimensions in the live section of all of the rooms in the first-year neighborhood. So keep that handy as you're touring those rooms because you'll get a better sense of the layout. And then Kirsten will talk a little bit more in the Residence Life session about the 3D modeling tool that you'll have access to after you're placed in your room to actually be able to move furniture around and all of those things. So enjoy the next couple of hours. Enjoy lunch. The Residence Hall open houses, we'll see you back in here at 2:15, and then we'll conclude the day with some fun stuff after that. So thanks again.